TNA often gets criticized for a lot of things. Too many gimmicks, overbooking, listening to the wrong people, pushing the wrong people. Inconsistency is a big one. There are times when they'll do a show that really nails it and makes it seem like they've got their heads screwed on straight and they really know where they're going. There are other shows that make you think that they haven't learned anything and they're just repeating the same old mistakes that they always seem to make. And then there are shows like this one that are kind of both. And considering they had a rare opportunity here to strike while the iron was hot when they had a lot of mainstream pundits paying attention to them because of the Billy Corgan situation, you really have to question if that was good enough. I felt like the opener was TNA taking a subtle jab at WWE's opening segments on Raw that sometimes feel like they go on for hours. It was almost like the writers asked themselves, how can we introduce the special referee for the main event and get this segment done with as fast as humanly possible? The show starts, Eric Young is already in the ring. Who's the referee? Who's the referee? Bully Ray comes out. Do you know who I am? Boom, next segment. That's pretty much exactly how it went. Points for not wasting time, I guess, but did it feel rushed? Absolutely it did. Still, nice to see Bully Ray again, even though this seems to have been a one-time thing from what I hear. I just wish to God he had left his girlfriend at home. The segment I was most looking forward to this week was EC3 versus Anderson in a match voted on by the fans. And it turns out they voted for the stipulation that Anderson chose, a Falls Count Anywhere match. It's a fun match while it lasted, though it felt too short and anticlimactic considering the great build-up it had. But the really frustrating thing about this was the stipulation. Anderson knows that Tyrus is going to be at ringside looking to interfere in the match, and so Anderson chooses a stipulation that will allow Tyrus to interfere in the match all he wants, and it's completely legal. Because Anderson is really, really stupid.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
So, because Anderson picked a stipulation that would allow Tyrus to interfere in the match, Tyrus interferes in the match, and Anderson loses. EC3 goes over like he should, and the hashtag EC3 for Champ campaign rolls on, exactly what should have happened, but it came at the expense of the babyface being made to look like a complete fucking idiot.
Now you see that evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.
After that, we've got Drew Galloway versus MVP. There was a whole lot of shenanigans going on here with the BDC and the Rising and Eric Young, but they still got an enjoyable match out of it. Although the really good part, in my opinion, was the promo before the match. Here we got something that had been missing from the feud until this point. Before, it was kind of just the BDC being a generic group of heels and Drew being the babyface who opposes them because that's just what babyfaces do. Now we see there's a little more to it than that. We finally got inside their heads and learned more about what makes these characters tick. Drew is the guy who really cares about wrestling, whereas MVP only cares about the money and the lifestyle that wrestling provides. And that's what Drew finds offensive because he sees MVP as someone who's sort of leeching off the business he loves like a parasite. It's not an incredibly deep character study or anything, but it does help to get more context for things and really understand why they don't like each other beyond the fact that one's a heel and one's a face. And the promos were very good here too, although I do think that MVP has been outshining Drew on the mic so far. I think James Storm has been playing his part masterfully in this storyline with Mickie James and Magnus, and you saw it again in this promo segment where he gave Mickie the custom guitar. It's clear that he's up to something, how he's very subtly sowing the seeds of dissent and mistrust between these two, and it's working. Mickie is getting suckered in by it, and Magnus is too hot-headed to see what's really going on. That him retaliating against Storm is exactly what Storm wants, because it makes Magnus look like the bad guy. Not that I really blame him for that. I'd be embarrassed about the gladiator gimmick too. And the kicker is that the crowd doesn't see it either. As far as the live audience is concerned, James Storm is looking more like the good guy in this situation. That's how much charisma James Storm has, because he can do stuff like this and really make people believe it. He's playing chess, and Magnus, Mickie, and the fans in attendance are all playing checkers. Man, the tag team division has had a miserable run of bad luck recently. The Wolves win the titles, Eddie breaks his heel, titles vacated. The Hardys win the titles, Jeff breaks his leg, titles vacated. Having said that, It's really weird how things work out sometimes. TNA kept having roadblock after roadblock put up in front of them, but they did some rejiggering, and thanks to Eddie Edwards apparently having a healing factor like Wolverine's, the end result might just turn out to be better than what they had planned originally. They make a big deal out of Matt having to relinquish the tag titles. Then the Wet Dream Team / Dirty Heels come out, and they act like charming dicks as only they can, saying that tag titles deserve champions who can hold them without getting injured all the time. It's a low blow, sure, but it's Aries, so people will still cheer him for saying it. So just like that, you've got at least one great team to build the division around. Then Davey comes out, and he brings out Eddie, now cleared to wrestle, and holy shit, that dude healed fast. It seemed like he only broke his foot a couple weeks ago. So now we've gone from virtually no tag team division at all to two great teams having a best-of-5 series that's almost guaranteed to kick ass. I don't know how they did it, but they managed to take a crap situation and turned it into something that put the tag team division over as something really important here. Well done.
Yes!
I kind of wonder what the point of Bully Ray was in the main event. If you were using him to hopefully get a ratings hike, why would you keep him a secret until this show? I appreciated the surprise, I just wasn't sure what the ultimate purpose of this was. Or maybe there wasn't one, maybe it was just some cool thing to pop the crowd. Mission accomplished, I guess. It's another good match with Angle and Eric Young, albeit with some overbooking with the BDC and the Rising being out there that may or may not have been to everyone's liking. I'm glad Bully Ray did not turn heel on Angle. I'm glad we got a definitive finish with Angle going over. The EY experiment hasn't gone horribly wrong in that some people seem to have liked it apparently, and he's done everything possible to make it work, but at the end of the day, it's always going to feel awkward to me. Eric Young is not a guy I'd take seriously in a spot like this. He's just not. So I'm hoping this is the end of it. I don't see any real reason to keep it going, especially with EC3 gearing up to enter the title picture.
Shut up and follow me.
And I saved the knockouts for last because that was the part of Impact this week that best illustrated what I was talking about at the start of the video. First of all, I think the Dollhouse has been a big shot in the arm that the knockout division needed. It's really changed up the status quo and put a lot of the characters into new situations that they wouldn't have been in otherwise. You've got Gail Kim and Awesome Kong on the same side for the first time because they suddenly have a common enemy. Taryn Terrell is a heel for the first time and looks like she's just having a blast in this role. And you've got two new girls in the mix now on top of that. You put all that stuff together and it makes for a much more interesting division than we had a few months ago. I really like the psychology of this match a lot. How Gail and Kong may be working together, but they're not friends, and they still have disagreements during all the action. And then there's Jade and Marty trying to protect Taryn, who refuses to tag in for most of it, which makes sense because of her issues with Kong. There was an attention to detail with the characters here that I appreciated. I enjoyed the match, though it did get a bit chaotic toward the end, and I'm not totally sold on Marty Bell yet, but for the most part it was good stuff. We got the babyfaces doing something fresh and different, the new girls getting put over, and overall, you really got the sense here that TNA is genuinely trying to move forward with their knockout division, that they were finally done trying to hold on to the past and were ready to build something for the future with their women that can be new and different and original. Then Velvet Sky came back.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
For God's sake. I knew this was going to happen. I knew they'd bring her back at some point. Because TNA just can't help themselves. Even though it makes no sense. Even though it completely invalidates getting the fired case in Feast or Fired if you can just come back afterward. even though there is absolutely nothing new they can do with her at this point. And they proved that here by immediately putting her in another goddamn storyline with Angelina. The whole reason why Velvet and Angelina had become so stale in the first place, apart from the fact that they'd long since done every interesting thing they could possibly have to do, is that their characters were always tied together somehow. They've been like this for years, repeating the same tired old pattern for almost a fucking decade. Jesus Christ, you've seen how irrelevant Angelina has become in the last year, so what the hell do you think is going to happen to Velvet? Is she going to deliver any great matches? No. Any great promos? Probably not, unless you give her something interesting to say, and that sure as hell isn't going to happen as long as her and Angelina are still joined at the fucking hip. What do either of them have left to do in this company? Nothing! That's why they're just going back to the same well they've always gone to long after it was tapped out. One of them left the company, again. Beautiful People broke up, again. So now they're gonna fight, again. And later on, they'll probably get the Beautiful People back together, again. Just on and on and on and on. Why on God's green earth would you want to continue going around in circles with these two? We've seen this. This is just a slightly different iteration of a horse you've already beaten to death many times. Why in seven hells can't you just stop trying to get blood from a stone, cut the cord on them once and for all because your division outgrew the Beautiful People a long time ago, or at least it's been trying to? Give their spots to someone new who might actually be interesting, like Cherry Bomb or Kaylee Ray or Nikki Storm, and just move on already!
Oh, my brother! Testify!
Generally, I felt like this was a decent Impact despite its flaws, but there were a couple bad habits on display here that TNA never seemed to break out of completely, and the fact that they brought Velvet Sky back again for yet another pointless angle with Angelina. Whoever made the call to do that, please get yourself a CAT scan as soon as possible. And I hate to say it, but ultimately this show feels like a missed opportunity. Because this was the first new Impact since news came out that Billy Corgan had joined the company. News that did generate a lot of publicity. And if this was their best effort to capitalize on all that publicity, a show that was good at times, frustrating at other times, and maybe a little overbooked, I think we have to call this one a failure. TNA could have done better here. And if they wanted to really take advantage of the rare mainstream attention they've been getting, they really should have done better. Over. Out. No. I've been on hold for over an hour. Listen to me. I need you to connect me to the payroll department. I still haven't gotten my royalty check, and someone in payroll has to know what happened to it. Yes, royalties. Knockout-themed Impact. TKO. My idea. I wrote a whole series about it. TNA used my idea. I provided a service. I am due compensation, and my royalty check is incredibly late. No, this is not a crank call. Look, I've had enough of this, okay? I want to talk to your supervisor. And don't you even think about putting me back on... Hello? Hello? Son of a... All right. You want to play hardball, TNA? So be it. I know now what I must do.